Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to week 10 of KodeCamp 4.0. So today we'll be looking at something new. We'll be looking at NextJs. Yeah, so we just go ahead and get right into it. Acknowledge if you can still hear me, yeah? All right, okay. So who has heard of NextJs before? Enoch. Funny guy. So who has heard of NextJs before? Anyone? Or encountered? Okay, Enoch, you've heard. Okay. Unmute yourself. Let's just tell us a little bit or something you've heard that is like a major pickup for you when we talk about Next.js.
Okay. So I don't really understand what you mean by major pickup, but I can tell you what I know
That
about
stands out for you.
Next.js.
Yeah, something
Eh?
that stands out for you. Something that stands out for you when you hear Next.js based on
Okay. I think
what you've
that
heard about. Yeah.
okay, so I think what stands out for me when I hear Next.js is the fact that it's a full stack React framework where you can also do backend with its feature called API routing.
Mm,
Just stay. So it's like you're doing both Node.js because when I even looked at their API routing, you're still using things like Express and stuff. So like you're doing Node.js and React in one, just with one language, and you're
okay.
building a full stack web app. So it's really exciting,
All
really,
right.
really exciting.
Nice. Any other person has any other person? Faith, have you heard about Next.js? What do you know about Next.js?
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yeah,
I've
good
heard of
morning.
NextJS. A friend of you recommended I learn it after React, but I think what I found out is that you have to. It's not just is of course is a framework. React is a library. So, but then you need to understand TypeScript. Is what I found out that is React plus TypeScript.
Mm,
And I keep hearing something like server side rendering, where React is
mhm,
a client side rendering. So I
mhm,
guess what it meant is that just like Tiolu said, like you can also write your backend on it, something like that. Because with React now, if you are building a backend to it, you have to use REST API since React is
mm.
client side, and then you have to be either use all this Axios or fetch this thing, and there have to be documentation, Swagger documentation or whatever, just to link those things together. But I think with Next.js, those things can be done in one environment. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you all for your contributions. Yeah, so Next.js is a React framework that enables several extra features, right? The features include server-side rendering, generating static websites, right? Are we together? So we can use Next.js here for generating static websites, and we can also use it for server-side rendering. It's a great choice for building highly optimized, fast web applications. So the key features for Next.js: file-based routing and server-side rendering, static site generation, and API routes, right? So like Tioluwa said, you can actually create your API routes using that's direct on Next.js, right? And then you can also handle server-side rendering using Next.js. You can also generate static sites using Next.js. And then something I was hoping you guys would talk about is the file-based routing, right? So I don't know if that's like strange to you. Is it strange when you hear file-based routing? Okay, okay. Ianu, is it strange to you? Okay, strange. All right, okay. That's fine. It's not bad for it to be strange. So yeah. So basically, file-based routing is like saying we are going to handle route. We are not going to be using router DOM to do our routing, define routes in app.js or in our route folder or route file, and then start utilizing that route everywhere in the application, right? Well, we are going to be, our routes will be defined based on our folder structure. So that is how Next.js works, right? Without much, let's just go into doing some stuff with React Router. Okay, so first let me share the documentation with you guys. Okay, so if you check the text box, I've dropped the documentation for those who might find it difficult to locate that. So open it and so that you can work with me as we go. You can be seeing what I'm doing. You can see the installations I'll be doing, so you can also do it from your end, right? Okay, let's go ahead and kickstart our application. The first thing we'll do is to create our nps create next app at the test. All right, so let's give it a minute to run. Good. So need to install the following packages: create next app 4.2, and we say yes. Go ahead and install it. And now they want to know our project name. So let's give the project so let's call the project first next JS app. So we won't be using TypeScript for this class. We'll use JavaScript. We can use ESLint. Yeah, we'll use Tailwind. Yes. We like to use SRC or directory. I think we can go ahead and use SRC directory. Then what kind of routing do we want? We can use app routing. I'll say no. All right, so what this does now is going to create a Next.js app that has Tailwind already installed, ESLint, and has all the configurations done. Please, can you still hear me? All right, okay, all right. Yeah, Henry. Henry, how are you doing? Said, today we are seeing Said in class. Nice. Okay. Udo, are you following? All right, nice. Udo, are you following? Yes, okay, good. All right. So we have successfully created our first Next.js app. So we can, all right, nice to have you in class side. All right, so we can go ahead and, yeah, typically you can just cd to this folder, to the new application folder, right? But I want to work with it to give you a clear view of what we are doing. I'll just open to the very folder that we're working on. So this is what we're working on, so you can understand the structure. So as you can see, it has created our application and has done all the setup for us, right? So we have our Tailwind setup done. Yeah, Tailwind setup is done. Packages, everything is set up here. Next config is done. Right? Are we good? So if we open this folder, you see that we have inside SRC, we have app, right? We have the app folder. So basically this folder structure is like, it's not the same with what we have in React, as you can see. You see that we have global CSS here. This global CSS is supposed to give a, it's supposed to style. I'm sure you guys understand what global is. So this style here is supposed to affect the whole application based on the usage of this global CSS. Now this layout is it's something like your index.html in React. So it's more like your entry point. So you notice that in React, we have index.js .html, right? Index.html as your main HTML entry point. Then we still have index.js, which is like your JavaScript entry point, right? For React application. Are we following? Good. So for this, for Next.js, this is your entry point, this layout.js. So once you define layout.js within this app folder, the application automatically understands that this is going to serve as your ultimate layout for your application. As you can see, we have metadata, just like you have in HTML, right? We have metadata, title, description, right? We can change this title if we want. And then we have our HTML and the body, right? Within the body is where we have the children. So ideally, all the content is supposed to appear within the body of this within this body. So it's just like what you would have in React, right? But it has its own, Next.js has its own way of handling that same process. Now let's look at the page. So this page.js now is more like let's say it's more like your app.js, in React. Do we understand? So if I run npm, if I run this server now, npm run dev, so let it load. It's the first time it's loading. It's going to compile. So for this now, you see that it's going to compile, to read, then compile before we can. So this is where we would be accessing our server. So we can come here and open our server. Let's give it a minute to compile. Okay. Okay, it looks like it's compiled. Good. So this is the first view of yeah, Daniel, welcome. This is the first view of a React a Next.js application on first installation, right? So this is the content we are viewing right now, and the content is in page.js. All right, so based on this, if we edit this page.js, we are going to have this screen is going to be edited, right? I hope you guys are also running this server on your end so that you can see what's happening in real time and experience it. All right, good. So now, looking at this, you see that based on the fact that this is your app.js, let's assume that we want to have other pages, right? So just go straight into creating other pages and routing to those pages, right? So we will need to do this. So let's say we want to have about us page. Let's remove all the contents from here and just create our own content, right? So we'll keep our main, and then we'll just take this out. Good, so we'll take that out. So we'll just come back. So let's say for our main, for our app folder, let's maintain this style and just say okay. So let's give it a H1 of H1, and then we can style it to be class name. Let's see, text 3 Excel. Yeah. And font bold. Okay, I'm coming to it. Hold on. Maybe. Okay, so this head here will not display on the DOM, right? This is like metadata. So it's like what's happening here. Like this title, description, so it's just metadata. It won't display. Yeah. Yes, it's an inbuilt component actually. So you can see that it's being imported from Next.js. So let's have a nav bar. And then let's class space X. All right, and then we close. Okay, so let's give this text of welcome to my first Next.js app. All right, so we can go ahead and create our navbar. So let's say link. Let's say link from Next.js. So as you can see, we are not importing link from React Router DOM here. So we are just importing link from Next.js directly. And then we can now define our route. So let's say we want to have an about us page. right? And then we want to have, okay, let me just create this as span. All right, so let's just do this. Okay. All right, so let's do contact page. Contact us. Okay. So we have defined our about page and our about route and our contact routes, right? Yeah, actually NextJS really it helps with SEO. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our folders or our pages, right? So if you notice, you use page.js, we did not use index.js, right? So for other pages, we are going to be creating folders for them. So let's say we say contact. For contact page, we create a contact folder, and within that contact folder, we create a page.js file. So this page.js can be page.js and it can be JSX, right? So now that we have page.jsx, right, we want to create, let's also create our about us, about, and then we create page.jsx. Okay, so what happens here is that this folder now is a route of its own. This about folder is a route, right? Same with this contacts folder. I hope we are following. All right, good. So if we come inside here and create our write our about us content. Yeah, so if we write our about us content, let's say import head from NextJS, and then let's say and then let's say export default function about. I hope what I'm doing is not strange. You can also use your typical arrow function to do one thing, so don't get confused. All right, let's just use this text the way it is. So about us. Okay, so we have about us. Let's, to avoid typing plenty, we just copy this and paste here. And then we say contact us. All right, so we can save this. So if we go to our application, yeah, so we have this. So let's modify this style here. Seems to be okay. So like slow. Mhm. Okay. All right, so we have this. Let's give our button a little bit style. Okay. But up we're together. I'm just trying to see how we can have a decent view of what we're trying to do. Okay. So we have our about us and contact us button. So if we click on this, it should take us to our about us page. So about page, we go back and click here. It should take us to our contact page. Is that clear? Do we understand? Anybody has a question? Just raise your hand up. I want us to communicate in this class. So if you have a question, what about products? Yeah, so yeah, dynamic routing, right? So yeah, okay, so I understand. So yeah, we are getting there. We'll get there. Um, uh, Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. I will be with you in a minute. All right. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so far are we together? All right. Good. So we have our about us page and we have our contact us page. All right. So let's do some little bit of advanced stuff. So for this, we are going to be yeah. So for this, we are going to be using some information from an API to modify our code and do a little bit of routing. What do we call it? Dynamic routing, right? So basically for dynamic routing, in this scenario, let's assume that we want to have a user page, right? So we are going to come here and create a folder and call it user or users, right? And then for us to get those users by ID, we'll create another folder and call it ID. Are we together? Then within this ID folder, we'll now create our page.js. So acknowledge if you are with me. All right. So let's go ahead and create our store and create our do our provision and then utilize our code, right? All right, let's go ahead and create our user slice. So for this, we're going to create a folder. And our folder is going to be inside our app, outside our app directory, right? So we're going to create a folder called store. And within store, we are going to have our store.js. Then we're going to have our user slice.js. All right. Okay, are we together? So we have our user slice and we have our store. So for these, we now create, let's start with our user slice because so that we can import it. So we say import create slice. So apparently we don't have we don't have Redux installed. So let's go ahead and install Redux. So say npm install at Redux.js/toolkit. Redux. Okay. All right. So with this installed, we can now go ahead and import create slice. And we also want to import create async donk. Okay. Then let's import Axios from Axios. All right. So we'll say export first fetch user. So we are doing this from an API. So like I said, so let's create our async donk and then give it an action of user slash fetch user. All right. So this is as an asynchronous code. that is going to require an ID. All right, we can now say const response. So this is not the API we will be using, api.example.com. Okay, so let's use JSON placeholder. So let's say JSON placeholder. Yeah, sure. ibcode.com. All right, so I'm dropping the link in the text box. But since we are going to be getting by IDs, we now use users /ID. Okay. Let me just send this. All right, so now based on the response, we have response or data. So we can go ahead and create our slides now. Let's say const user slice equals to create slice. Name equals to user initial state will be user or then status so idle. All right, then error say no. Okay. And now create our reducer and extra reducers. So for extra reducer, we have builder. We have builder. Okay. So the builder the add case fetch user pending the add case field dot add case field. Okay, so we have our three states for this API call. We have our pending state, of which for pending state we set the status to loading, and then for our fulfilled state status we've set to succeeded, and then we can pass the payload into this user state, right? Update the user state with the payload that is being received from the API call. And then we also have our error message defined. All right. So now we can go ahead and export our app slice. So I saw someone had a question. Let me go back to it. Okay, user slides. So yeah, of course, like we worked before now, and we had different uses for slides, and you saw that we had hot slides, right, Udo? We had hot slides because we were working with authentication in the last application that we worked on. Am I right? Or mute yourself. Yeah, so it depends. It's basically you just write your code for readability. We are handling user information right now, so it's just ideal that we use user slice, right? So anybody that comes to this code base now and sees user slice understands direct straight ahead that this slice is being used to handle user information. Are we together? Good. So same thing like maybe you want to handle a product page and you are trying to make an API call to get products or create products or edit products, right? And then you're creating one slice that's supposed to handle everything product. You are not going to call it user slice. You call it product slice. Dot reduce are used where? This is what we are importing this reducer now. As you can see, reducer, you see all the status that is part of this reducer that we're importing, that we are exporting rather. So it's like exporting everything that we have here so that we can import it somewhere else. Do you understand? Yeah. So can we move? So for this user slides, we have an error somewhere. So we have to figure out where we're having an error. And we're having an error because we did not define our arrow function. Okay. All right, so now we have our fetch defined and our slice defined, right? So we want to work on our store. So for store, we want to import configure store from Redux. Then we want to import our reducer. So good, as you can see, we have imported all our states into the store. So we can now save the store. Give me a second. All right. So we can now go ahead and create our store, say const store equals to configure store. And for configure store, let's say reducer. All right. So we have this created now. Are we together? Enoch, what do you want me to wait on? Are you lost? The user slice. All right, so where exactly? They export this. All right, so we might need to we'll need to modify our layout, right? Because now for our layout, we want to display, we're trying to display, we're trying to utilize our store, right? So if we come back to our layouts here, we can modify this to say for layout, we have children, right? Hold on, guys. Okay. So for this, we are going to modify our layout to accommodate our store so that we can add the provider for our store, right? So we config for that. We are going to say inside here, we're going to say import provider from React Redux, right? And then we want to import store. Importing our store. Okay. So import store. All right. So we can say provider store. Okay, and we'll say component. Okay, and then we say and page props. Okay, so let's see what happens with this. So we come here. Do we still have our application? So component, don't need this. All right, so let's see. This function is not supported. No, server company. Yes. Use this. Company. Okay, hold on, guys. Let's see what this error is talking about. Okay, so we are having some high-level errors. All right, give me a minute. Let me figure out why we're having this error. So we have component pages, blah, blah, yeah, okay. So operation type. Okay, so let's modify this. Let's go back to our store. First of all, let's install next Redux wrapper. Let's say npm install next Redux wrapper. So let's import create wrapper. Okay, so we have create wrapper. So we say const make store question and configure store, and then within configure store we add our user. Okay. So we have our user added and blah blah. Okay. So we now export const wrapper was to create wrapper. With wrapper, we pass mix stuff into it. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go to our page. So for our layout now, what we'll do is we'll revert this code and maintain our children. Okay. And then revert this to and maintain HTML. Enter the class, okay. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll maintain this. And then when we are exporting, we now export default wrapper, import wrapper dot with Redux. And then we can now pass the layout here. Okay. All right. So with this, let's see what happens if we still have the error that we're facing. Okay, so we have a different error this time. Use context is not a function. All right. Next, Redux wrapper index.js. So the error we're having now has to do with our wrapper component, right? So let's fix that. Hello, are we together? So as you can see, NextJS is carrying us to where we don't know. Okay, so okay. Okay. So apparently they're saying I should uninstall this wrapper. Okay. I'll be working. Create wrapper, we still need the create wrapper. Stop. Okay, let's start that in the system. Okay, all right. Let's just revert our code without using that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and use this typical code. Okay, now we can go back here and say for body. So within body, we want to provider install oh, so let's hope this works. Wrapper is not defined. I'm not using wrapper anymore. Layout. Okay. Layout. Oh, okay. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Um, I'm looking at it holistically, so just give me a second. Hmm. Yeah, we're handling the export here already. Or is it for the user slice? Store is properly defined. I think the issue is in this layout. Um, Don't be scared, oh, don't be scared of Next.js. We are going to figure it out. Good. So if we have this, well, this setup in our store. So, is our slice. So, page. Then we have our store. Store. Okay, so I think this is where we're going to end our class today. This was, I had already done this, and seems like the God of Next.js doesn't want us to continue. So we're going to pick up from where we stopped in our next class. Don't go and sleep on this. You have seen where we stopped, so do your own research and make sure that you're coming back ready for our next class, right? Prior to that, once I get this working again, I'm going to push the code and I'll share the code with you guys. Is that okay? And I'll try to add comments to the code to make sure that you guys understand what happened and why we experienced what we just experienced. So apparently it's a bug. I can't see where the bug is, so we're going to do it. Okay? All right. Okay, good. Thank you guys. Bye.